Hello one and all, this is Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, once again with another video game first impressions. This time around, the Dark Pictures anthology Man of Medan for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Made by the same developers of Until Dawn, the horror-themed cabin in the woods, choose your own adventure type of narrative. Supermassive Games provides a very similar game but on the high seas, as a group of friends and strangers come together to do a deep dive to find a sunken sub in uncharted waters and get confronted by not only some terrible pirates but also their greatest fears. As seen in these type of games in the past, the players will have the opportunity to move around certain areas, collect clues, discover moments that could potentially save or hurt someone, and most importantly, make decisions that could kill or help someone survive. Man of Medan doesn't last as long as Until Dawn, but it requires the player to play through more than once to get the full story. Even more important is the fact that Man of Medan features a movie night option where players up to 5 can play alongside each other as specific characters and play through the story. So depending on what one player does could affect what another player does in the end, or what another player can or cannot do in the end. The actions of certain players or characters will affect the overall game and the story. I think this is a fantastic implementation and a great way to have friends coming back for more, because you want to see how the story would play out if I made a different decision or even played with a different character. It's easily the biggest draw point when it comes to this game, because compared to Until Dawn, the characters, even with Shawn Ashmore being really the only visible face of the cast this time that you would say, hey, I know that guy, I know what he was in. The lack of development and really these high stakes situations that made Until Dawn feel special doesn't necessarily exist here, or at least it doesn't up to the point that I've played. The way the game kind of teases the idea of something supernatural happening before it starts advancing the story is really well done, and it adds an overall heaviness to the atmosphere and a level of anticipation of what could happen that may or may not result in the player's character dying. The gameplay itself is still very much similar to Until Dawn. You have the opportunity to make choices in a timed manner. There are quick time events, a little too unforgiving at times, especially in hasty situations or unexpected situations for the player if they're not necessarily paying attention. To me, the biggest issue when it comes to gameplay is the overall movement and interactions with certain items. Though you might get a prompt, it might be a little bit hard to maneuver the character, especially with these hard camera settings that could switch at any moment, very similar to the old school Resident Evil games. So you may be going in one direction and then the camera will switch and then you're going in the opposite direction of where you want it to go. You can walk a little bit faster by holding a specific button, but it doesn't really make that much of a difference. You would think, especially in a scenario that these characters are in, they would want to move a little bit faster than snail's pace, but I'm assuming that the walk faster quote-unquote button is just there to make things feel a little bit more tense and atmospheric, but it's just annoying. Graphically, the game's a mixed bag. In scenarios like underwater environments, it looks really good, especially with the lighting, but then there are moments where the character models feel almost muddied and blurred. Certain faces look very much blurry and smeared and almost too smooth. The environments themselves are pretty mundane compared to Until Dawn, so it's not that much of a graphical upgrade. And even with that, I can be forgiving with downgraded graphics. But the frame rate, at least on the PS4 version, is rough. The frame rate, especially when you get to certain areas like the bigger environments, starts chugging along unnecessarily. You would think Man of Medan would be better optimized, especially considering that this was also a problem in Until Dawn. And I gave that a little bit more of a pass because it felt like there was a lot more going on, especially in your environments when you were outside. Overall, I think Man of Medan is actually a very good game, made better by the fact that it is a budget title. At only $30, I think it's a steal, especially if you have friends that are into this type of video game, that are into horror games, or even into the horror genre, that wouldn't mind sitting around and playing with you for a few hours, because it is a blast playing with a friend, more than, of course, playing by yourself. This implementation of movie night, and even online, because you can actually play with another player online as well, is definitely the biggest benefit Man of Medan has. If Until Dawn came out with a remastered version in this implementation, I would buy Until Dawn to do that as well. So there you have it. This has been Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, with another video game first impressions, the Dark Pictures Anthology, Man of Medan, for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Now, if you don't mind, I have to make a choice. Either I can save myself or try to save my friend who's being obviously torn apart. And if I do the right thing, I have a bad feeling that I will come face to face with something that will make me shout, "Oh Lordy!"